All right, it's a prep spotlight presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency, and again, going back to the tailgate, it was one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of, guys. I mean, it really was. It was a flashback for me. This was before your guys' time. Maybe Matt, you might remember when I did some of the live remotes
Yeah.
on the radio at Risto's Bistro. It was downtown Owasso. It was the days of you had Marty equipment, so I had to set up an antenna and broadcast back to the station. It was a whole ordeal, but it was fun. It was fun as hell. Being in the restaurant surrounded by fans that went to the football game. And this was Risto's Bistro times 10. I mean, it was a madhouse. I mean, we did a great job. I thought you did a great job putting things together. We had a nice double table. We had people coming up, just randomly grabbing them out of the crowd, come up to chat with us. Tremendous sponsorship. Again, we talked about Corey and Jim and Randy, but again, even here, our podcast sponsors kicked in swag to give away: Memorial Healthcare, AZ, Rivals Tap House and Grill. I mean, we had so many prizes. We were trying to figure out how to do it. So we'd have guests come up, we'd hand them something. We'd have people coming by we knew, we'd hand them something. I mean, it was just a great atmosphere. And, they're going to make an official announcement on how much money was raised for the Corunna Foundation, but it was a heck of a lot of dough.
And that's the thing, man. You talk about the people who are kind of spearheading it: Corey Shook, Jim Woodworth. Whenever they have their hands on something, it's gonna be well put together. And that's what it was. I mean, 500 people.
Right.
Kind of can't really wrap your head around it. I mean, you really can't. So I almost wish I could have lived Sunday in like two different lives. One doing what you guys did, and then one doing what I did, which was working. So it looked freaking like an absolute blast.
I do have a question for you, Jared. I know you were in the truck pretty much 2 full days just in your little cave there. What were your specific duties during the game? And I want to say that overall, for the Corunna game and all the weekend, actually, but the Corunna game especially, I thought just a real nice job with the presentation, the backstories you guys covered. I mean, I thought it was very well done.
No, our producers, they do a great job, man. I mean, that's our head Wings producer, head Tigers producers. I mean, all week they're dedicated to that. And I mean, there's 8 games to cover. So it's like Corunna's just one little eighth of the pie. But I mean, the amount of work that goes into each and every one of those games, they do a great job. So I was, it's an AP position where you're helping the producer with basically anything throughout the week. You're kind of his right-hand man with whatever he needs, helping with replays. You're helping the talent with whatever they need. You're helping tell storylines. I mean, for the Corunna, I was the one kind of pitching all those storylines for Corunna and through all the other games, because I mean, we talk about it all year on the podcast. I love high school football. Right. So I think they love having me work this show because it's just, I'm knowledgeable about it. And I played high school football and all those sort of things. So no, it was a lot of fun. And like you said, I really do think Valley does a really good job putting these state finals on every year. I mean, the thing that we loved this year that we didn't have last year was we had the XMO camera looks, the slow-mo camera looks, which those look so good. So it was awesome having those for sure. But it's just cool, man, hearing, Devin Gardner, hearing Matt Shepard, who Tigers, voice for 5 years on a football. It's just not something you hear every day.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, kind of to that point, I had a few friends text and they were asking me if the game was going to be up on YouTube at some point, because they were at Ford Field and they wanted to watch the game on the Valley Sports broadcast, because they were like, it's like you're watching the Lions. It's like you're watching the Lions because there's replays, they're cutting to the coach, they're cutting to the crowd. It looks like it's a professional broadcast of a high school football game.
High def too, so, man. It was clear.
Yeah, high def and everything. And so Valley Sports, you guys knocked that out of the park. And what's always cool to me too is, Jared, you definitely have a full taste of it now. You understand fully how much work goes into it, because you see all these side stories. They have the stories about the kids. The Bauer family had a story, the feature that you did. That stuff takes a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
So when you talk about they're putting on 8 of these high school football games, they have all of those side stories for 16 teams. They've got to be prepared for everything. And that's what, you don't realize, it's not to try and say anything or whatever, but you don't realize when you're watching the game how much pre-production work goes into these games, because you have to be prepared if there's some stoppage in time. All right, how are we going to fill that time? We got to have some stories to tell. And you want to make it interesting. These high school football games, people that are watching at home that just like high school football that have no idea what Corunna is or where it is, or even maybe have no idea anything about Catholic Central. You want to be able to have stories to tell people watching at home, oh, this is a great story. Oh, I know the Bauer family, the generations.
They did a story on Austin Oginski, Future Farmers of America.
Yeah, that was cool.
Right. You want to have all that stuff that make a high school football state championship game cool. So I say all that to say, yeah, you guys, Valley Sports, you knock it out of the park.
Yeah, and also moving on, before we came into this section, the prep spotlight, Jared, you were talking about the game. Let's talk about the game a little bit. You're exactly right. I think now that we've had a couple days back to reflect on it, and the team and the coaches and everybody, the fans, man, that was a game that definitely could have been won by the Cavaliers. They were every bit as good talent-wise as that Grand Rapids team. I mean, they had the two studs, the quarterback and the running back. Obviously their lines were good too, but man for man, Corunna was right there and could have picked that one up.
Yeah, I don't think it was the type of game. Kind of, Jared, you already kind of said it. When not to bring this back, but right when we lost to Grand Rapids South Christian in basketball, it was a tip your cap. That team had 5 athletes going D1 in multiple sports and stuff like that. So it was like we put up a fight, but
maybe you beat them 1 out of 20 times.
Right.
Maybe you have to play the best game in the history, whatever.
Yeah.
So that was you guys, good job on you. It wasn't like that on Sunday. I honestly think, you say that out of 20, I think play 10 times. I think Corunna could beat them 4 or 5 times. I think it might be down the middle. Yeah. What team catches a break? Can Corunna bust a big play here and there? And something like that. And that's what was cool to see, because I think a lot of people, we talked about it before, Grand Rapids Catholic Central, East Grand Rapids, or whatever. Some of these teams get to Ford Field, and then some of the smaller schools, maybe from the east side, get to Ford Field and kind of get run off the field a little bit. And that didn't happen. Corunna was right there. And, Jason Hutton talked about it. He kind of said, like, get through the first quarter. If you don't get overwhelmed, because it's Corunna's first time at Ford Field, get overwhelmed with the moment, and you're down 21 after the first quarter, get through that, and you're going to have a chance. And Corunna did. And, I think I'd be curious to ask Coach Herrick if he, reflects back and maybe thinks about things that maybe could have done differently, or some adjustments maybe that could have been made. But I think, the players fought till the end. I mean, that's what's cool to see. I mean, they were in the moment. They said, I mean, we're going to fight till the end. I mean, even when it was starting to look like clearly it was going to be a loss, they kept fighting, kept playing. So I think that was a cool thing to see, that how hard they played, and just the fact that they hung. They were there. It wasn't football. It wasn't a we don't belong here type of thing.
And that's football. That's what's sad about it is, and that's what we love about the sport, man. It comes down to, in games like that, it comes down to 3 or 4 plays.
Right.
If the 3 or 4 plays swing the other way, who knows what could have happened. I mean, Tarek, the catch he had that was ruled incomplete on the field. They reviewed it, still ruled it as incomplete. I mean, that was a catch. If that call goes another way, maybe it's 7-14 at halftime instead of 14-0. And then Corunna can come out in the second half and score that first drive. Now we're tied up, and who knows what happens. Now all the pressure's on GRCC. There was the really controversial play, which a lot of, I don't think the MHSAA had the rules right, or the referees. I don't think that it was a reviewable play on that 3rd and 4, which basically sealed the game after GRCC had great field position following basically the turnover there.
You're talking about the Zeman?
Yeah, Zeman, kind of trap / catch. And here's where my thoughts are on that. It's stupid. They shouldn't have been able to review it. 100% we should be complaining about that. But at the end of the day, I mean, the right call was made. Right. The process was silly. It took them 6 minutes from the time they went into review till they came out to make that decision. Unbelievable. Shouldn't happen again. We're talking about the MHSAA. The coach's challenge needs to be done. It didn't work. It made these games so much longer. Every time a review happened, it's 7 minutes. It felt like every time. So that needs to be done away. That was the first year they did it, was this year. Just a bummer. It happens to be when Corunna's there.
Unless they just did a quick adjustment and just did, like one challenge per half. Let's just make it each coach 1 challenge per half. That's it. It seemed like that. Like, Ted, were you guys explained, I would assume you guys get game notes and stuff. Were you explained like what the new, or even you, Jared? I mean, you guys obviously with Valley, what the rules were? Because that's what people in the crowd were like, who's reviewing this? Like,
it was explained to us
what
that it
is
was
happening?
A coach's challenge. And I still don't know what I thought for sure. If it's a coach's challenge, that the team loses their timeout no matter what. I don't know if that happened.
No.
I really don't know. And I mean, here's the thing: when we're watching that replay, it was clear as day as soon as you saw it. One look of it, I know it sucks. It's stupid for you guys, Ted, calling the game, that your guys' monitors don't show replays.
No kidding.
I get it in the actual stadium. We don't need people turning on the refs, midway through the game.
Right.
But you saw it, and one look, it took 5 seconds to realize, okay, it was not a catch. Let's just get out of it. But for whatever reason, it took them 6 minutes. So, and that's where kind of this confusion goes on. What the hell was going on? How did they even review this? I don't know. I really don't know what the real answer is to
too.
it.
Sorry, Ted. I know you're trying to jump in. What was weird on that is initially that I think they were going to call it a catch because they were talking.
Yeah, they called it a catch.
Coach Eric was pointing first down. Zeman was pointing first down. So even the Corunna crowd started saying, all right. And then all of a sudden the review kept going. Right. And then all of a sudden you saw Coach Eric starting to get clearly upset. So that's where it was like, maybe the argument was it a coach's challenge, or were the refs, maybe, like you said, maybe the refs didn't know the rules. I don't know.
In here, I know you guys didn't get the chance to watch the Mason game, but Mason got boned a couple times on truly just reviews that were just flat out bad calls that they didn't change. So I guess here's my thing is, it's stupid. It was a bummer. The right call was made. So I really can't complain too much about it. I mean, the right call was made on the field. That's all we want at the end of the day, but flat out the process sucks. And us as Corunna fans, man, we would have loved it if they would have just let that one ride and we could have just kept going.
Yeah. So, and like the rules are the rules. I mean, that was a reviewable. The coaches could have made a challenge. Their coach could have made a challenge, but he didn't at first. And the play was stopped, and that allowed time for him to review and then make the challenge. That was the bad part. But you're right. It was the right call. He didn't catch the ball. But I'll tell you what, going back a little hindsight, just think if that would have been held up. And Corunna came out. They did make some adjustments to start the second half. They went to the tight formation, ran it downfield, scored that touchdown on 4th down and 7. Wyatt got in the end zone. Another close call, almost a fumble, but he crossed the line. But okay, it's 14-7. If the catch by Zeman is good, they're lined up to go downfield. They score again. I'll tell you what, then you're right. GRCC's on their heels a little bit. Corunna either ties the game or takes the lead with a 2-point conversion. We got a whole different game. But once that play happened, and then once, the bad punt afterwards, it was over at that point.
Yeah.
And like you said, Jared, that's just how football games go, especially, football games like this and in high school. One play that turns into, an unfortunate punt, it changed everything. Even in the crowd, like you could feel it in the stadium, like all the wind was out of the sails. It just felt like that was kind of our last hope right there. But still, Jared, you said it earlier. I mean, just an incredible run. We've talked Mount Rushmores and all this stuff. The 23 team is clearly etched in stone at the top. I mean, just an awesome team. They. Top to bottom. I mean, a complete team. We've said it all year. Offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, kicker, everything. Obviously, skill positions. Just a super good team. What I see, four players made first team All-State. And, that's just super impressive for, a team like Corunna to have 4 guys first team All-State. So, obviously the players, I'm sure, man, I know for a fact they're going to think about this the rest of their lives and probably to an extent be a little disappointed that they came up short. But
forever.
They have nothing to be like.
No, I mean, you talk about somebody who was like, gave me goosebumps watching him play. Eddington played like a man possessed. He really did. Offensively and defensively. I mean, when they started relying on him in that second half to carry the rock, that's when it was him basically just power of mind, like I'm moving the chains for us, is kind of how it felt when they were handing the ball off. I mean, they were showing him after snaps on offense during that long drive throughout the third quarter where he was all over the field on defense, all over the field on offense. He's sitting there, almost down on his knees in the huddle because he's so out of gas. So it was really cool seeing him. He played really well, man. I mean, whoever gets him, whether it's GVSU or Ferris, I think they're going to be really happy with what he does. I mean, I kind of tout him as the ultimate Corunna football player. You circle a guy who's like, this guy embodies everything Corunna football, it would be him. And it was just cool, man. Seeing, Corunna, it's not every day you go to Ford Field and you see Corunna's athletes stand toe to toe with a private school like GRCC. So it's really cool all around, man.
Little side note for you. He was playing his guts out, him and his brother both. His grandma Eddington passed away the day before.
Oh, I thought
think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of extra motivation there. And again, I'm 100% so proud of this team. You know, I'm a Cavalier all the way. I wore it in the broadcast. There was no bones about it. I was there for the Cavaliers. And what's kind of cool, guys, is there was a couple radio stations up there from Grand Rapids. Brett Bakita, Hutton's buddy there, was there. We chatted with him, had a good conversation, and his counterpart radio station, I forgot the gentleman's name, but we were giving ourselves pleasantries, and he says, "Hey, man, I really like your podcast." So here's a radio guy up in Grand Rapids listens to our podcast. So that was kind of cool to hear.
Heck yeah. I mean, you know, we try, obviously our focus, especially this year, has been Corunna, Mid-Michigan, you know, with Ovid LC and other teams making a run, but we try to branch out, get to the Grand Rapids area and stuff. And one more thing, Colster, CC's coach, he said in the post-game interviews that they had a fight for every yard. He was giving Corunna a lot of high praise. So, you know, when a coach like him, who's been there basically every year, they've won 6 out of 8 state titles, is giving Corunna high praise for, you know, how hard CC had to fight to win that. Hey, man, that's cool to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Off. Yeah, it was. Yeah, sorry, Ted, to cut you off. I know we're tying a bow on it, but yeah, it really was. I mean, defense played great. They really did. I mean, in the state, you give up 21 points in the state championship. I mean, we knew that. We knew how good. I mean, what were they giving up 7 points a game heading into the state final? So yeah, they looked really good. Well, my favorite play, real quick, was it was Russell Dixon, their stud running back. Second half run right around the left side, and then it's Eddington, and they just had a huge collision. And it was really, or no, it was Eddington running it around the left side. Dixon came in to hit him, and it was basically a stalemate. It was just awesome. So
to really tie it off, Ted, we're burying the lead. That was your final game. I know you might step in maybe a couple times, but you know, officially.
No, that was it. That was it.
Recap it. How cool is it to tie off your long career calling a Corunna state championship game at Ford Field? That had to be pretty awesome.
It was epic. I mean, it was the ultimate to, you know, when you think about it. Okay, the last basketball game I did wasn't Corunna, but it was Langsburg in a quarterfinal against Ecorse, which had a great team, you know, and it was a great way to end the basketball season. Then to come and do my Corunna Cavaliers in the state championship at Ford Field. I mean, it was like Jared said, you get goosebumps. I had goosebumps many times in that game, and it was just a blast. You know, I think we did a pretty good job on it for sure. Casey, Bart, myself, I think because of the longevity of the game, we had plenty of time to get our commentary in, so we didn't have to feel rushed, you know. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it. That was a good way to end it. I will be filling in every once in a while as a substitute, but that's it. Walking away from it full time, perfect way to end it. Hey, before we wrap up this go ahead, Jared.
I was just to say, I mean, you know, Corunna should be damn good at basketball as well. So we might be seeing it with the if they put all the pieces together.
You said your last basketball game was Langsburg. You've handed off the mic to Casey for basketball too?
Oh yeah, it's his now. I'm done as a full-time broadcaster for sure. It's Casey's time now. Hey, before we wrap up this segment, guys, we had talked about it one time. Probably again, people getting tired of us talking about Corunna sports. A couple things. We wanted to do our Mount Rushmore. You want to do that, or you want to table that?
I think table it. I was gonna roll through kind of some other quick little recaps of some of the other games that went on this weekend. If that's good for you.
Let's go rapid fire on this.
Yeah. So the Division I, I'll start with that. So this game. The ratings on this game were insane. And let me just say one last thing on the entire weekend. I love the Saturday, Sunday. I love that. I hope that that's the new norm. And I loved the moving the Division I game to the last game of the weekend. That was perfect. Really
the one thing I heard some people saying on Sunday was kids have school or, you know, whatever the next day. That would maybe be the one thing. Whereas when it's Friday, Saturday, you know, you can maybe go to dinner in Detroit or, you know, do something like that. That would be the one thing I heard people saying. But
yeah, I get that. So basically I'm just hoping that they keep filling that Friday and basically give us no other option is what I'm saying.
But no, wait. Don't fill it with Michigan State so the Spartans logo is at midfield for the high school. Yeah, go ahead and fill Friday, but
listen, we'll get
that.
We'll get to the Lions,
and it's not because I'm a Michigan fan. Like, no, you're at Ford Field, high school football. The Michigan State logo should not have been at midfield.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Lions, man. The budget and everything they did this weekend was horrible. We'll get to that.
Okay.
God, it was horrible. But Division I game, real quick. So Zeke Marshall, quarterback for Southfield A&T, going to Kansas. What a game! I mean, he couldn't be sacked.
He showed up.
He was doing it all with his
Bryce
legs.
Underwood.
Yeah, he basically outplayed Belleville's quarterback, number 1 player in the junior class. I mean, what a matchup that really was, and what an upset. I mean, Belleville came into the game on a 38-game win streak. And here comes Southfield A&T. I didn't give him a chance. I'll be honest. I didn't give him a chance. I've seen a lot of Southfield A&T games last couple years. I really didn't. But that was the definition of a guy putting the team on his shoulders. I mean, I think he carried the ball 20 plus times, threw the ball, 25 plus times. What I loved about their game plan was they said, our best player is our quarterback. We're going to live and die on his legs. We're going to live and die on his right arm. So they bring in 2 offensive linemen. They don't have a running back. And basically they're just saying, we have 7 offensive linemen on the field. If we're running it, it's going to be Zeke Marshall. And if we're throwing it, we're going to have 7 people in pass protection for him. It worked like a charm. They came out ready to play, man. Belleville came out flat. A&T came out saying, we're going to win this game. We're going to go out and win this game. And their head coach, Coach Aaron Marshall, has gotten, some flack about some of their game plans over there. Their defense played great. Their offensive game plan was awesome. I mean, what a great, great game. And Zeke Marshall, Tassi Bracewell is a stud wide receiver for them, going to Toledo as well. Really, really good kids. So I was just really proud to see them kind of get it done, get over the hump for Southfield schools, finally win a state title for them. Any comments on Division I real quick before I go to Division II?
Just that I didn't watch because, it was after the Corunna game. We were, out or whatever. And I haven't watched the replay. But that's everything, looking on Twitter and, whatever else. People were just so shocked that Belleville didn't win, that Bryce Underwood he played okay, but Bryce Underwood almost got showed up. Yeah. So just a shocker.
Yeah, I don't want to dog on a high school kid, but I think he got a little bit of humble pie. I saw the feature on him interviewed on Bally. Man, he was pretty full of himself, which I understand, one of the best quarterbacks around, but it was nice to see that Southfield came up with a win.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on to D2, Muskegon versus De La Salle. I mean, this was a fun game. Tale of two
Jason Hutton said that Muskegon had a shot.
Yeah. Wow, Mackay guy. I don't know how I saw after the game he's posting about getting offered by a D3 schools, Alabama. What is going on? What I mean, do we need to get Tony and Anise on this pod? How is this guy not a Division II recruit? Wow, exactly. It was the performance of the weekend. It really was. He couldn't be tackled. So first half, cool little behind the scenes of how we're kind of seeing it. First half, he's getting killed. They're not blocking, kind of Olay blocks, as you would say. He gets sacked, gets crushed. 2 guys basically sandwich him at once. He goes into the huddle, grabs his left tackle, who's kind of just, you could tell he's really down on his luck. Like, goddamn. He grabs the troops, rallies them. Out they come in the second half. They score like 21 unanswered, and he's running wild. I mean, true inside veer, Corunna football from, your day and age, or even before that, Matt. Just perfection. Just a one-man wrecking crew. Housed a couple 80-yard plus runs, had a throw of a 90 plus, just electric. And good to see Muskegon kind of get over that hump. I mean, they made it to the state final 7 years out of the last, under Sheriff Shane Fairfield, and they've only won 1 state title. So now that is 2. Now that they got it done versus De La Salle. So just Mackay guy. Wow. Not sure why there's not more recruitment around that kid. He's impressive. Division III, real quick. We talked about Mason, how big of a crowd they had. Awesome to see Mason make it there. Their star running back, AJ Martell, 4-sport state qualifier, wrestling, swimming, football, and track. Stud athlete, Mr. Football candidate, gets banged up in the first half, can't go the whole second quarter. I love listening to him talk post game.
You said wrestling, he's state qualifier in wrestling and swimming?
Yeah. Basically, The story goes with swimming is he was just the team does a recovery day in the pool. The swimming coach saw him diving off the diving board, said, "You could be a state qualifier tomorrow." with your athleticism, dive off the board. So he came out for swimming, was a state qualifier just like that. Wow. Awesome class act kid. I think he's got like a 1430 SAT. But they interviewed him after the game. He's kind of, relishing, recapping the season, tears flowing from his eyes. I mean, if you want to see a great interview, check out the D-Zone's post-game interview with AJ Martell. Really good kid. But for Forest Hill Central, their head coach, Tim Rogers, retired after the game. But they had one stud, man, Ty Hudkins. I think he's going to Purdue, boiler up. Looked like a man among boys out on the field out there. He had the second best play of the weekend behind Belleville with that sweet interception they had behind the back. He made it an incredible 60-yard touchdown catch, almost like what Tarek did in the Corunna game. Caught it, first contact about the 20-yard line, carried, 2-3 guys all the way into the end zone for the score. So good for Forest Hill Central. They got killed by De La Salle last year, 52-13. Good to see them kind of come back ready to play this year, and they get it done. Moving on quickly, Division 4, GRSC versus Harper Woods. I mean, this is Carson Viz and Jake Vermas, the quarterback and wide receiver for GRSC. Wow, are they impressive.
What a game.
And what a game. Those two, what a duo. I mean, I think he had probably the best singular quarterback performance I saw outside of Zeke Marshall. I mean, threw 400 yards in Division 4. They're two stud basketball players that are going to be quite the duo on the basketball court this year in a loaded Class B, which is going to have Corunna in it as well. So we could be seeing them down the line. And Harper Woods, I mean, I honestly thought they were going to lose, but they played one hell of a schedule throughout the year. Division 4 school playing teams like Southfield A&T. They were definitely prepped for this game. Jacob Oden played a great game defensively for Harper Woods. He's going to Michigan. He's the defensive back. Yeah, he played a great game, trying to kind of limit Vermas as much as you could. But that was a really fun matchup, seeing those guys go back and forth. All right, 2 more games. D6, Kingsley versus Alma. I love watching D6 and 7 every year. You see some of these offensive wrinkles. I mean, Kingsley had this wing tee sort of offense where these offensive linemen were doing some of the coolest pulls. They had one play that they housed wide open touchdown on kind of a counter play. Left tackle opens up, looks to his right, like acts like he's kind of lost for a second. All of a sudden, the counter comes back around the other way, spin cycle, leads around the left edge, wide open for a touchdown. I mean, if you want to see a well-coached team with an awesome little kind of offensive scheme that you don't see every day, Kingsley, man, it was awesome. Tim Wooer is the head coach. I want to make sure I said his name. Really impressive scheme. I really loved watching that game. Last one, D7, Lumen Christie wins again. I mean, Herb Brogan, my God, Ted, he's been doing it almost as long as you have.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's 11 state titles now. Just unbelievable. Real quick shout out. I'm a nominee. You know, a lot of people probably thought they were going to get killed in this game, but they had a stud, man. Quarterback Trevor Newerkoff. Impressive on both sides of the ball. We did a pack where it showed him taking off his gloves as he goes from quarterback on offense to DB on defense. And I think he had like 14 tackles, and he was making plays all over the field for a quarterback for them. Kind of a one-man band, really trying to make it happen down the stretch. But Cadale Williams, running back for Lumen Christie, one of the most impressive backs we saw this weekend outside of maybe Russell Dixon for GRCC. I mean, 3 touchdowns. Just a hell of a weekend, man. It was the first weekend in a long, long time. No running clocks. Every game was close. Every game could have gone either way, really. So just a really fun weekend. Tie a bow on it. That's all the divisions. Quick little recap.
Well, don't forget Division 8. Ubley finally gets a win, man.
Yes. Yep, you're right. For some reason, I didn't write them down. I was prepping before we started recording. Ubley gets rematch against Ottawa Lake Waitford, who they lost to last couple years.
Yeah.
They get it done this year. Pretty awesome to see in Division 8.
Now you can wrap a bow on it.
Yep.
Take a deep breath.
Yes. Well, good stuff, Jared. I know you wanted to get out here, and good recap of the high school football games. We'll move on now and talk a little Michigan football right after this.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcast, we've had 3 generations: Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.